changes.
Never changed on last Monday. Focused on the whole time.
Well, it is 9 a.m. We'll call the November 27th meeting of the Floyd County Board of Supervisors to order. First item on today's agenda is approving the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second. It's been moved by Supervisor Jorgensen, second by Kiefer to approve the agenda as presented. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. The agenda is approved. Item 2, public comment. Is there anyone listening on the phone today that'd like to make a public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 3, review action regarding the approval of the November 20th, 2023 minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of November 20, 2023.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Kiefer, seconded by Jorgensen to approve the minutes of November 2023 meetings. Discussion. I noted the minutes from the canvas on November 20th, 2023 had misidentified the chair of the Board of Canvassers as Linda J.
I'll fix
That would require a amendment to amend the minutes. I actually haven't signed that.
it. It hasn't been published yet, so it can, I can just fix it.
How does that work then, in regards to any change in any minutes? Have the minutes of the other regular board minutes been published?
They were just sent to the paper on Friday, so nobody's published anything yet. But I
So
just fixed
I
it.
guess my question is, when do we actually amend things that are in our packet, or when do, as you suggested, you'll just take care of it?
Well, Elizabeth said, has said in the past, Elizabeth from Gardner has said in the past that if, something is, the intent of a discussion is changing or something like that, or the motion is recorded incorrectly, that those would be things you could correct if they haven't been published. And so now that we're meeting every week, you're not hitting, before when we meet the second or fourth Tuesday, minutes would have been published before you would have approved them. So I can just fix things, even like the name correction, that's just for the signature line on the minutes, that wouldn't be something you would have to amend. Either way, even if it was 2 weeks later. So I can just fix those. But if a motion was made and it had, the motion was written incorrectly, say we're paying a $100,000 bill and I thought we're paying a $10,000 bill, something like that, would be an appropriate thing for correction if the minutes had been published. But so I guess I'm just saying I just sent them to the newspaper, so neither of them had been published, so I can just correct them. Because if they're amended, nothing changes. Those minutes if they've been published and all that, they stay as they are. And unless you read the next meeting minutes, you wouldn't know that something was approved as a change. So if I've got time to correct them, that's the cleanest way to have a clean record.
So I guess my question is this then, if I hadn't noticed it, would have they been published with Linda Jaden as the chair of the Board of Canvassers?
The press might have caught something like that. Chris sometimes will say, did you mean for this or that? They might catch something, or Jane might catch something and then I fix it that way.
So it would have got published if it wouldn't have got brought up, or the press wouldn't have seen it? I
I don't know. I can't answer if I would have gotten it, but I can assuredly tell you now that nothing's been published, and I can just fix it and resend it.
It's an interesting discussion. It's a good one to have because of the time frame of our meetings is so weekly and is quickly, and we don't get the minutes in this case until Friday afternoon, and sometimes on Saturday before we see the minutes that we're set to approve on Monday. But
I have 7 days to get the minutes to the newspaper.
yeah, and so it's that unusual thing in there that to me, when they tend to get sent out as a packet to the people who requested it in the media, then it's kind of an official document. That's the way I look at it. And if we see something, we can amend something.
It's up to you. If you want them published incorrectly with Linda's name, then make your motion today. If you want to resend to the newspaper with your name on them, there's nothing that you would need to do.
I certainly don't want them published incorrectly. I just further to our discussion, how would that mean that if a motion was made to amend them, then that would mean that they would be published with the incorrect chair's name?
No,
Isn't that what
it
you
likely
just
would be caught. It likely would be caught by the media or by me or. So,
Wouldn't a motion to amend them now mean that they're recognized as incorrect? And
no, amendment would be you're amending what was sent to the papers.
How do we correct it then?
I corrected it right now. While we're talking, I'm just gonna resend it to the press. It's not from what Elizabeth has said before is, if I had a motion and it was, Jim made the motion and Dennis seconded, and you caught that and it should have been Dennis made the motion and Jim seconded. Elizabeth has said those type of things you don't need to worry about amending minutes for things like that. And you can talk to Elizabeth if you'd like to about that type of thing. But if something was published, because you have 7 days to get the minutes out. So we're on our 7th day today. So I can still get the minutes to the newspaper the way they should be. So, but if it's too late and they're published, like I say, this isn't a problem when we meet every week, but when we were meeting second, fourth Tuesday, then they would amend it. So I mean, if you want to bring it up at your open meetings, open records is 12th of December, if you want to bring it up then. If you want to amend it now, I need to leave them the way they are. And they, published as they were written. And that's not even something that would cause a republication, according to Elizabeth.
I'm just trying to understand your position on this. I'm just ask another question. So if we leave it the way it is and we move to amend it, how does that mean that they're not? Am I understanding that right? Am I understanding what Art Carr is saying, right? If we move to amend it, that's going to change what is published in the paper.
I'm confused.
So if there's minutes that need to be, I'm just gonna correct them. Rather than amending them, this is an easy thing just to correct because it hasn't been published. You have 7 days to get the minutes out there. So this is
What does it say to have 7 days?
in chapter 331.
So given our fact that we meet every 7 days.
Yeah.
Then. Okay. We meet every 7 days, so we have until today to get them published. Yeah. Okay. So if we move to amend them, can't they still be published? I'm sorry, I think I asked that question twice, so
Yes.
I'm just
So
trying to clarify.
Elizabeth would say something like that wouldn't need to be republished because it's not changing any content of what occurred during the meeting. It's just a correction to be made. She said even things like if, you go from one meeting to the next and I, use minutes from one meeting to the next meeting to prepare the next minutes. And let's say we had 2 people at one meeting and that's previous meeting or at a meeting and my minutes still said for motion to adjourn still said 2-0, but all 3 of you were here. That's nothing that would require any republication. It's nothing, those are things I can just fix in the minutes without amending. That makes sense?
So you can correct it, it's like a typo, correct it?
Yeah.
Send it to the paper.
Yeah, neither of them are published, I can just send it. We talked about it, I've already fixed it, but I will put Linda back in there if you want it to be an amended minutes.
Okay, well, maybe I'll just leave it at this. I noticed that Linda James' name was the chair, and glad to see that it was brought to your attention before it was published.
Absolutely, I encourage you to let me know if you see those things. Let me know, and I'd have corrected it before the meeting and gave you a new copy before the meeting if I would have known.
Okay.
Satisfactory, I guess.
We all understand when we have the ability to correct minutes, other than what is kind of a typo, we're referring to as a typo here. We have to have the ability to correct minutes, and so perhaps we need a little hear from Elizabeth on our ability to do that, because I think it could be viewed as extremely broad where the auditor can correct things that are sent out, just because I think we need a little more.
Is Elizabeth of Gardner and Company?
Yes.
She's an accountant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is
She's
that?
an auditor. She audits our
She's
work.
auditor.
So it's just, especially given that unique circumstance where we have meetings every 7 days on a regular basis. Okay. Thank you for the discussion. All right. Those in favor of the motion to approve the minutes of the November 20th Board of Supervisors meeting and the canvassers as corrected. Okay. Can that be noted in the minutes? So
Sure.
we're correcting the minutes of the Board of Canvassers to include the correct chair. Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Motion carried. Thank you for the discussion. All right. Number 4, review action regarding approval of claims.
Make a motion to approve the claims.
I have a comment or a question.
Certainly.
We got another bill from Bolton and Mank, and they don't tell us what they're billing us for. They just have a person's name and the hours that they spent, but they could have been playing solitaire. I don't know. And we brought this to their attention before, and I think they corrected 1 month statement, doing what I thought they should do, and now they're back to doing a very generic statement. I think it should be more like our attorney, Anderson Cooney, when we get a bill, if it's one of the staff in the office that tells us how many hours they spent and what they did during that time spent. So if you look at, Bolton and Ming's statement, it has, for instance,
I'm gonna look over your shoulders. So they're trying to pull it up.
you just pull it. This says administrative, 6.5 hours. What did they do? Design engineer, 4 hours. No explanation of what they're charging us for. Same here, hours and total amount. But we don't know what they did.
I think,
That's my issue.
do you think when Tyler was on the meeting with you to approve the pay app that you just had, he talked about who was doing what work and
Yeah,
on
but
the
it should be on the
project side?
statement. When we get a bill from Elis and Cooney, it's got so-and-so, so many hours and exactly what they did in that time spent. We don't get that from Bolton Maine, and we haven't ever since I've been on the board, except for one time, I think they corrected it last spring or summer when I brought it to their attention. And we asked them then to do it, and they did it once or twice, and then they stopped and they're doing it like this again. So I can tell them again, you sent me an email telling me that if I wanted that changed, I should call them. But how many times did they have to be told?
This is, Bolton Mink has been our engine, I'm not justifying anything. They've been the engineer for many years for Floyd County, and this is the way they've done their bills for.
I understand that, but I don't think it's right. I don't care how long they've been doing it. We don't know what we're paying for. And it's almost $130,000 now we spent on Bolton and Mink, and really don't know. He's made some trips over here, but they could be doing anything or doing nothing and billing us for it, and we don't know. It's my opinion. So that's.
Supervisor Kiefer, I agree. I think that the statement is lacking in what those hours are billed for. It doesn't take a lot. In fact, some of those hours in Cooney statements are just, they're more specific, but it's not a long,
It's not a
but
piece.
it just says exactly what they're for.
Exactly, and we don't get that from Bolton and Mink, and that's what I'm concerned about. I would hesitate agreeing to pay for this bill until they can get us a more detailed statement. Well, we get a statement from Larson that's doing the work, and it's very detailed. They tell us what they do, how many hours they spent doing it, you know, if it's cleaning trees or cleaning the ditch or whatever. But we don't get any explanation from Bolton and Mink. That's all for me. That's my only issue with the claims, so.
When is that claim due? There's no due date that I see, is there?
I don't see
It
a,
doesn't say 30 days or anything that I can see.
you know, it's dated October 28th. I don't see that either, Jim.
I believe it was.
Oh, at the bottom, finance charge of 1.5%, charged on balance of 30 days and over.
That must be that fine print.
Yep.
Oh, I see it. Okay, at the very bottom, yeah.
So it was put in our packet. We first saw it on Wednesday of this past week. That's the first time we saw the claim. So they're saying 30 days from when they sent it.
Yeah, I don't see a date on it. And it might be there, but October 28th.
Yeah.
So November 28th is the,
Maybe tomorrow.
Well, yeah, but they sent it November 28th. We're not looking at it until
27th.
they sent October 28th. So why isn't it in effect until November 27th?
I don't think that we got it. Lexi doesn't sit on the bills when they come through. So.
Well, one way to solve the issue is just not pay it for a week and send a request that they start doing us, start giving us more detailed information. Supervisor Kiefer makes a good comment. I mean, this is certainly something we talk a lot about with the people who are in DD3, and I know they wanted accounting for it, so I see nothing wrong with your request.
Oh, okay. I'll call Bolton and May and tell them we're not gonna pay the statement until we get a more detailed explanation of what those hours are for and what they did. I'll do that. And I'll also tell them going forward, we expect the same kind of statement each time, not a generic one like this. And be adequate. Okay.
We need a motion then to approve claims with the exception of both what they make claim.
Also move.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Supervisor Kiefer, seconded by Jordan, to approve what with the exception of claim number
15398.
15398. Further discussion? Any comments from anyone listening on the phone? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
All right.
Aye. Motion is carried. Item 5, updates on various boards, commissions, and activities since the last meeting.
I attended the compensation board meeting and Chamber of Commerce meeting last week. Those are the two that I had.
I was also at the compensation board meeting, and the Floyd County EMS Advisory Council met, and they have a timeline of things they're working on and staying on task that way. It's their opinion is to have excuse me, a special election. I think it's Tuesday, September 2024. The next special election would be in March, and they chose not to do that one. So we're looking at a timeline like that. They have some sample ballots, questions rather, and I'll look at some of them, but just some sample things to put on the ballot. Talking about doing some open houses in order to get their word out there and have people spreading knowledge and information. So it's a pretty good meeting. When the ambulance commission meets again, they'll have a better number on what amount of levy they're going to ask for. So ambulance commission is going to meet week of December 11th, I believe. It's not today yet, that needs to be determined yet. So that was the two meetings I had.
All right, thank you. I attended the compensation, the county's compensation commission meeting on Monday night. That was all I did for a short week. Item 6, update on law enforcement center courthouse project.
Chamber of Commerce.
Progress report, payments, potential change orders. Did we ever get a response on the 72-hour notice?
I got an auto, let me check, but I've gotten an auto reply that Jason was on vacation. Let's see if it's- Just got the auto reply that he was on vacation last week, or off last week.
Jason was the one that sent the 72 hours.
He would have been the one who sent
Sent it.
the week prior.
The week prior, so there was no response from anyone who got it.
They would have responded to him on what their plans were to remedy it. They wouldn't have been to us and to Jason through their system. Well, I don't know how they.
Sure.
I don't have anything from Seth on it.
Yes.
As far as this bolt bollard is concerned, I think we ought to leave it just the way it is. Put a sign on it that says compliments of Dean Snyder Construction and the Sanders Mill. I think it would stop a car, slow it down. I mean, good grief, it's been years. I just don't understand why we can't have one, why it's so hard to get one.
It doesn't seem like it should be that difficult. But,
No, I don't think it's very important to them. You know, I mean, why else? And then the other thing I need to add, I sent pictures of the plaster repair to the Adams drywall and plastering, and I haven't heard back, and that's telling me that he probably isn't interested in repairing it. When I talked to him, he had lost his hired man and he was struggling with help, and so I think we need, if we want that repaired, we're probably gonna have to go with the original estimate to Dean Snyder again, or
No, you could go direct to ProWalk and not pay the Dean Schneider costs.
well, I did that and they weren't interested either.
That was 6 months or so.
Well, they said, we don't have time. I guess they didn't say no. They told me they don't have time. They were 7 or 8 months out. And I can call them back and tell them, just put us on your list and do it if they're interested. And I don't know if people are that interested in working with that old plaster. I think that's part of the problem. It's not drywall, it's, you know, mesh wire and plaster and so anyway, that's, I'm not having any luck there either.
Well, Supervisor Keeper, I understand your frustration with the bollard. And what you stated in jest, was as just, you know, their inaction. And, you know, I look back on some minutes and it was in May when we approved the pay app for the plastering job.
Okay.
And so if we can't get anybody to do that work, we haven't paid it, the work hasn't been done, so what is our option there if we can't? Just
Jason didn't push the pay app through because the board said that you wanted to try finding someone else. Just needs to put pay app through. If it does include Paulson Electric doing that 4th floor stairwell, lighting, and Dean Schneider doing that lowered ceiling. So maybe it is just to let Jason know you want that pay app to go through, or not pay app, PCO to go through.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I brought a local contractor, my boss, and we went through the building and looked at all it, and he says, I think I can find somebody to fix this. He didn't want to do it himself, and I never heard back from Mike again either. So I think he's having the same trouble I am finding someone who can or wants to do it. So,
Yeah, the same with Steve Huber. His wife, he never responded, but I ran into his wife one day and she said he's just really not he's on retirement site, not taking on those.
well, we've kind of exhausted our options on this and hit the walls,
yeah.
so to speak, numerous times here. And I mean, we keep going circles here. And now Jason's not responding. 10 days ago, he's on vacation. This tells me something about how this is working.
Is it, excuse me, go ahead.
I'm just,
Well, Jason may have done something, we just don't know because it's just on Monday a week ago that you said you should follow up with him. Short week last week and he took some time off.
With the plaster, we could probably let it go, but it doesn't look right.
Oh, yeah.
It'd get worse, I'm sure, over time.
So can it be resurfaced, recovered with drywall or some other,
Well, there's a
something that
ceiling.
people wanna do?
On the fourth floor, there's the stairwell, but the ceiling, it's dropping down, there's a big hole. And their answer was, one of them put a drop ceiling in because it would be hard to repair. Most of the others on the walls where the plaster was cracked, and it seemed like it would be easier to fix that maybe than that ceiling up on the fourth floor.
Nobody uses that stairwell for fourth floor, way up at the top, barely ever gets used. But the eyesores are on the other floors of the courthouse. Like areas of the other.
Would any of these contractors have do they offer a different way of, rather than repairing plaster, that maybe do something else?
They haven't went into that kind of detail with me. I contacted that Young Construction in North Springs too, and kind of explained to him he wasn't interested in it. And many others. I think there's been 6 or 7 that I reached out to. But yeah, like Gloria says, that stairwell from the fourth floor, no one uses it. But I don't know if it's going to continue to get worse or if it's as bad as it will ever be. I don't know.
That is the worst shape of things, but it's not the most public. The others are definitely, I think, a higher priority, but I don't know, outside of stripping all that, chunk of plaster off of there and doing a sheetrock, but you're gonna probably see transition from sheetrock to plaster.
At some point.
Yeah.
2 points.
Yeah. Yeah. We used to have Denny Devereaux that used to do our plaster work, but he's no longer doing that. It's just a trade that's.
But that PCO from East Niagara, whatever it was $38,000.
Something.
Yeah, a lot of money. I don't think that included anything else except that repair work. Seemed kind of high, that's why I started looking around, but maybe there's a reason why it's high if nobody wants to do it.
But, yeah, I mean, if you just wanna, if you just wanna go through with that PCO, I just gotta send Jason an email and say, push the PCO through. Might be 8 months down the road before anything's done, but we'd be in that time period from when they said it would get done, but we didn't wanna wait that long.
Yeah.
And now we're at that time period, if we'd have left that PCO in place, we'd be,
It might have been
Done.
fixed by now.
Yeah.
I apologize for not being able to find anybody, but it's just frustrating.
It's not due to lack of effort.
And the other thing I've been working on is with the law enforcement center and their hard water. We've had 2 different water companies come in and take a look at what needs to be done or can be done with that, and I'm waiting for estimates back. One is Mort's Water Service out of Latimer, and the other one is Wick's Water out of Allison. So they've both been up here, looked at, and the water softener is going to have to be installed in the west end of the building. So there's a single entry door, ladder that goes down about 3 steps, and then a narrow hallway that goes back to the south where the opening is, where the water comes in. So it's going to be a difficult job, and it'd be difficult to get bags of salt back there for it.
That's my next.
It sounds like they're going to need a 2-wheel cart down below buy a pallet of salt, two-wheel it back.
And then you are softening all of the water? That's not the way they talked before that it would need to be done. That the softener would go up there in the mechanical room and you'd only be doing certain waters. So those two are telling you something different than what the
Well,
previous.
Pam was with, and I'm not a water expert, but it made more sense to soften the water as it comes into the building than trying to hook it into a mechanical room. They were having trouble finding a place to put the unit, so the brine tubs or whatever they're called. There really wasn't an adequate place for that in a mechanical room. And so I know you mentioned we shouldn't be softening hot water, but if it comes into the building and we soften it there, everything's gonna be soft.
It's just gonna be expensive.
Well, I know, well, we'll see.
Huge expense.
We don't know what it's gonna cost yet. And that's the other project I've been trying to move along, so. I did talk to Steve Deers too, the city administrator, about this issue. He said, well, we soften our water. And I said, well, not enough. And he was gonna talk to the guy in charge of that, see if they could do more, but I haven't been back in touch with Steve either to see what they wanna do or can do. So that's all I have on the LEC. We don't have any meetings scheduled with them again, right, Gloria?
No, I'm not sure what Jason's status is.
Well, please send an email to Jason requesting what he's found out. Anything further on item 6? All right, we'll move to item 7, public hearing regarding the proposed urban renewal plan amendment. It is,
Could I ask
Yeah.
if you could maybe bump Jesse up? Do those items for Jesse.
all right, we can do that. We haven't opened the hearing yet, let Jesse come in. And
Jesse, are you on the phone?
You probably know the number, right?
Jesse, are you on?
Must be.
Jesse?
I'm on my way.
Okay,
Oh,
all right.
okay.
I got a message from her at the same time. so
Oh.
Just say my name when you're ready. Great, thank you again. I
Right,
apologize
no
for
problem.
changing everything. So treasures 11, 12, and 13, Jesse said, been involved in that one as well.
A lot of documents for that urban renewal stuff here.
Like it starts on page 25.
All right, we'll move to item 11, which is the review and action regarding the approval of the treasurer's central report as of June 30th, 2023. And we define that, have you get that up in your packet?
I do, it's on page 25.
All right, thank you. All right,
Page 25.
you got, I'm pulling it up there. There it is. Yeah, treasure home. We'll The floor to you to discuss the Floyd County Treasurer's settlement report to the board, June 30th, 2023.
I'm just submitting the settlement report to you guys to show the funds and the balances. And if you have any questions.
Other questions from the board?
I don't, it's kind of hard to read it sideways, but I don't have any questions.
You open the document up, you double click on it.
That's okay.
Is there any, big changes that you noticed or
Not that,
any surprises that jumped out at you?
no, not that I have noticed. Just basically follows the paperwork and the numbers.
Right.
Over here. This one I can read. Okay. Thank you.
All right, any questions for the treasurer?
I don't have any.
No, I don't either.
All right, is there a motion to approve the semi-annual report?
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's office semi-annual report.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Supervisor Kiefer, seconded by Jorgensen to approve the treasurer's settlement report for June 30th, 2023. Further discussion? Any comment from anyone listening on the call-in line? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Review action, item 12. Review action regarding the wage increase for the treasurer's part-time motor vehicle tax clerk following a 6-month performance review. And we'll find that in your packet. That request, where?
That one was actually page 25.
Way down the bottom.
Yeah, I told you 25
Okay, there it is.
before.
All right, I got it. Yes, Treasure Home, you're requesting a 3% increase in actually Adam Ganson's paying wages. She started on May 15th at $20 an hour. She completed her 6-month employee performance review. Ashley has excelled in every aspect of her position. I'm requesting a 3% increase in her hourly wage. That would bring it to $20.16. Anything you'd like to add about that?
She's doing a great job.
It's actually the one when you walk in on the far left side of the room.
That's Sherry. That's Sherry.
Oh, that's Mary. Okay.
Yes. It has the shoulder length brown hair.
Okay.
Across from Sherry.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Discussion from the board?
Oh, I'm okay.
This is different from the auditor's request of last week. How?
They're both 6-month increases. And
So this raise is part of the they would expect to get after 6 months, right? Jesse?
That was in our offer letter. Yes.
Yeah.
It didn't have a dollar amount, but I had accommodated the 3% increase.
In your budget, accommodated, obviously.
Yes, it was worked into the budget.
Is there further discussion? Oh,
I think if we, not understanding or noting the difference between the auditor's request and this request, I think we, unless somebody can explain the difference to me, I think we need to go back and revisit that too, if we follow through with approval on this.
you want to consider the auditors when we come to it in the agenda and defer action until this at this time? And that's the only way we're gonna talk about that one. Is talk
Sure.
about that one first and then deal with this one afterwards, if that's a consideration to you.
So there is an item on the agenda for the auditor's clerks too.
I think that would be appropriate. What you suggested.
Consider them both at the same time, kind of, or
They're very similar. And find it hard to start sorting that one would get it and not the other, or I think it'd be best to have discussion about both of them.
I suggest them just deferring action until later on in the meeting, until we'll take up the issue regarding the auditor's clerks.
That sounds good to me.
okay.
I don't think that requires a motion to do anything. We'll just-
Jesse may not be available if you're waiting on hers, then.
Is there any questions for Jesse while he's here?
No, I,
The only difference I see, this is a part-time employee
correct,
and the other's,
or full-time.
you're requesting 3%,
Yes.
changes the pay from $20 to $20.60. Is there anything else that we need to, that Jesse needs to be here to tell us about?
Like so.
We're deferring that.
I can listen and
Okay,
while I'm driving.
all right, sometime a little later here, we'll be taking it up. Pretty good?
Thank you.
All right. All right, thank you. So we'll move on to item, the next item. Let's see, 13, review action regarding setting a date for disposition of a parcel known as the west 4 feet of north 27.8 feet of lot 3, block 3, North Springs. And that description, just follow down, we have a county resident, Cheryl Hootsville, who has informed us that she's interested in purchasing this parcel. Apparently, this parcel was misidentified on a couple of deeds and land transfers that have occurred and gone back for a period of at least 2 transfers of this property. And correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but generally speaking, what we've got here is there's been some errors made that do not settle this 4 feet of property, and now that it has been determined, in order to sell a piece of property, we have to hold a public hearing. And so what we're talking about is setting a public hearing for December 11th, 2023 at 9:15 in the boardroom. Dispose of this real property that's identified in the agenda item through a tax sale deed. At the hearing, the board will receive from any resident or property owner the counter oral or written support or opposition to the disposition of said property. Take action authorizing the disposition. And so that's the action on the agenda item, is to set the hearing date, and we have a letter from this adjoining property owner that she would like to purchase it. She's offering $120 to to buy this and get it off your hands, as she says. So that's the discussion item for item 12. Auditor Carr, you will
Sure.
wish to comment on that?
I should have included the map here, but I just pulled it up. You can see this here. Cherry owns, this larger parcel right here. Several years ago, I believe it was when the property was transferred to Clarence Stoner. I don't remember how many times back, but I remember we had conversations with Mr. Stoner. When the attorney did the deed for it, the attorney put the wrong feet. The property should go clear over to this little chunk that's right there to the east side of that chunk, and he was 4 foot short when they prepared the deed. So when Mr. Stoner, I believe it might have been even before Mr. Stoner, but anyway, when Mr. Stoner had the property, I had visited with him to see if he'd be interested, and the property at that time had gone through tax sale deed, and I suppose what happened is the original owner had sold the property, and while Mr. Stoner had the property, this little 4 foot strip wasn't his. And so it ended up on a tax sale, and nobody purchased the tax sale certificate on it. And so we asked Mr. Stoner if he'd be interested in having this. Well, he said he was. I said, well, if you could just send something in writing to the Board of Supervisors, we could get this wrapped up and it could be your property. I don't know the timing of things, if what happened with Mr. Stoner, but he ended up selling the property. Cherry Hutzel owns the property at this time. And I don't know if Cherry reached out to Frank, or
I think he reached out to her.
he reached out to her. And before he had left, he had emailed the county attorney's office to see if, what the process could be for this, to acquire it, and left it in unresolved issues with Jesse, and Jesse was going through things and came across it. She emailed the attorney, our attorney's office people changed, and she emailed it to them, and Todd responded, well, is she still interested in it? So Jesse
And I
reached out.
contacted her and she is interested.
Yep, still interested, and so then the resolution to it came down to if she would make the offer, the Board of Supervisors could have a disposition hearing. And if nobody else has any interest in this property, wants to do anything with the property, it's just going back to where it should have been prior to the attorney making the error on the deed, whoever the attorney was, whatever private attorney it was. So she's responded with the letter, and the back taxes are $88. And there's, I told her that typically the supervisors would like to have their costs covered on it. So we'd have some newspaper publications, and she came back with this offer of the $120. So I have in your packet a sample of public notice to go in the paper. I think you would leave it up to your discretion. I think you would only need to put this in the North Springs Rockford Register, but it would only cost maybe less than $20 to also put, it's a short notice, put it in the Charles City Press as well. If you want to just make sure you're covered that way, and that should cover the costs and get that little 4 foot strip back on the property taxes.
Yeah, let's do whatever it takes.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. I think we also need to put it in both county newspapers, just as a matter of common practice. That's what we do, instead of just publishing it in one newspaper. that won't delay this, will it?
No, I'm gonna send it, I've got it in an email ready to go right now. I put the date of the hearing as at as you had said before, December 11th at 9:15. If that's good, I'll maybe make a motion to
All right.
do that.
Well, thank you for the thorough discussion of all that occurred and whoever attorney took care of this. It was it. And glad that we've got, we'll get it cleared up and we'll call for the public hearing. So with that, is further discussion?
No.
All right.
We need a motion.
Yes, we do.
Make a motion to post the notice of public hearing December 11th, 2023 for the property parcel 050830501200.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion by Supervisor Jorgensen and a second by Keeper to have a public hearing on December 11th, 2023 at 9:15 in the boardroom regarding this parcel known as the west 4 feet of Lot 3, Block 3, North Springs. Further discussion? Any comments from anyone listening on the phone call-in line? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Okay, well, thank you, Jesse. Now we'll move back to item 7, which is a public hearing regarding the proposed urban renewal plan amendment. And we're going to, in your packet, let's go to that amendment. And that is okay. Going through here.
So start on page 6.
All right, I'm getting there. Thank you. I'll find it.
What are the documents?
Yeah,
there's a lot.
There's a lot to it. Yeah, this is, yeah. Yeah, that's the resolution, I believe. It's on 5 or on 6. So the actual amendment to the Southwest Bypass urban renewal area starts on page 8. So at this time, at 9:58 a.m., I will open up the hearing on regarding the proposed urban renewal plan amendment. It's for the Southwest Bypass TIF district. Other cars, have there been any written or oral comments received by the auditor regarding the proposed amendment to the urban renewal area?
I've heard nothing in opposition to or support of. There was a consultation meeting that was held with, that was available. The Charles City Superintendent had corresponded with Steve Deers, but I don't think anybody ended up showing up for the actual consultation.
At this time, I will close the hearing on the urban renewal plan update. And discuss briefly what's in the amendment. This is the amendment regarding the Zoetis, most recent Zoetis expansion. And so and what follows in all of this is a description of what is being planned in that amendment to the urban renewal plan. Auditor Carr and I represent the county on the Southwest Bypass TIF urban renewal area. And so this is something that has been approved by the county and the city, who have joint representation, but of course it has to go to the executive body of the county and the city council for approval. I believe it already has been approved by the city.
There's just next week.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Is there further questions, comments regarding what the project, and our action would be to review, to approve the renewal report? Actually, first of all, before we do that, we're reviewing action on resolution 4623. 4623, and that's,
I have a question.
yes.
The amendment plan starts on page 8 and then continues to page 9. Constitutional debt limit on page 9 of the county. Looks like it says 77,275,376. What exactly is that?
We did. Go ahead.
The constitutional debt limit takes into effect how much of our cash on hand we have and debt we have on hand currently. Only not all debt applies. And then it's at a 5% number. That it's what's used for figuring out if we're not taking on any debt for this. This is, what's nice about this is it is a rebate. So they pay their taxes, they get their money back if they pay their taxes. If they don't pay their taxes, there's nothing there. So it's all going to be collected through TIF revenue. You shouldn't even need to use the county's TIF area. It should all be enough to, in the city's value for the TIF in the Southwest Bypass area, the city limit area, to cover it. But that is a requirement to put what your capacity is there. But there's no bonding for it or anything like that, but that's the number that's used to how much we could bond for a project, 5%.
Okay.
Here,
Yes.
there's a comment in your sentence that says the county will not provide additional tax increment financing support to the company in connection with the expansion project. So I'm reading that to mean we don't have any money. It's not costing us anything, right? County.
I think that's saying they're not going to get any other, well, you're not going to go in any other agreements for this project. And the cities reads the same, but
Is this project done now or?
no, this is waiting approval. But it is, Mark, I don't remember, but it almost doubles the value of the property and brings in, it doesn't bring in many more new employees, but it does bring in some more employees as well that meet the thresholds. They are getting funding through the state. So this is kind of the county's share. State usually with their funds, they want to know that the local governments are supporting the projects as well. So they're getting money for their expansion on the state side, but they're getting the property tax rebate on the local side.
So it won't increase your property taxes any, correct, for a while?
Their property taxes?
So it is.
It will increase their property taxes because that value, again, is almost twice the value of what they currently have with the expansion. And only on that part do they get that percentage of rebate.
Okay. Okay.
And I don't remember what the rebate was. It's not is it
90% for 10 years.
Yeah. On that addition only,
Okay.
not on their whole taxes, but just the addition.
there was a lot of discussion at the last Southwest Bypass TIF meeting about this offer was made to Zoetis some time ago during their negotiations, and future offers to future companies who want to expand will likely be under a new matrix, as it's called. And this formula was set up as a part of a matrix that was designed to enhance growth and create new jobs. It's generous, 90% tax abatement for a period of 10 years. And so there was considerable discussion by the TIF board as to possible changes in that formula in the future. But this is already was offered prior to this board by others, and that's what's been agreed upon and is the basis for the state's involvement as well. Yes.
That matrix was, I think was it 2004 that it was dated? It was before there were any commercial rollbacks, and now all commercial properties get residential rollbacks. So, and some of the discussion was, you know, what do you focus on? Number of employees, housing, where should the money, where do you go with the money? So that's part of that
Yeah,
matrix.
it's a needed discussion. It was also prior to changes in the state regarding corporate income tax.
Yeah.
That was greatly reduced. So there's reason to update that in the future. For our business today, we're at that level that was agreed on. So we're at consideration of resolution 46-23.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 4623. Approve urban renewal plan amendment for Southwest Bypass urban renewal area.
I'll second.
All right, there's a motion by Supervisor Kiefer, seconded by Jorgensen to approve resolution 46-23. Further discussion? Any comments from anyone listening on the phone call-in line? Hearing none. Auditor Carr, would you call the roll?
Kiefer.
Aye.
Jorgensen.
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 46-23 is approved. Next item on our agenda is item 9, is approval of the fiscal year 23 annual urban renewal report. And report is on various.
Public hearing closed.
Yes, we can close that. Thank you. The report starts on page 10 then. And this is a accounting of the amount of TIF revenue that comes into the Southwest Bypass TIF district. And in this case, the non-rebate expenditures, the total expenditures, the cash balance that's in the fund, any obligations for that rest of that fiscal year. Taxing districts they use, as you scroll through here, you can see what's included in the report. Other cards, anything else I should be noting in this?
I can go through it a little bit if you'd like.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the first page of it shows what our fund balance was as of July 1, 2022, what TIF revenue received, and then our replacement claims that we received throughout the year, and then the expenditures that we had on the bond payments. This is all from this urban renewal area is the wind turbine area, so it's St. Charles Township that this is in. And But, so our ending fund balance is $1,942,857. And this one we levy as much as necessary so that when we can exercise call dates on the bonds, we can get the bonds paid off earlier. So that's why there's a fund balance on this one. Next year is the first call dates that we have on this, so potentially we could start calling some of the bonds and get this debt paid off earlier. The obligations for the year are $1,966,843. The second page just it's got the same information there, but if you notice right in the middle of the page, there's St. Charles Township and there's also the Rockford Township. This urban renewal area was amended to several years ago in 2012 to include a potential ADM project in Rockford Township, but that didn't come to fruition. So as you can see on the right side there, the increment value used is 0 on this report right in the middle, right here. Second. Nothing there, but it still has, we still have to report that there was nothing used for that. The third page again just shows that it was a roads project. All of the bond proceeds went to various road projects. There's annual fees with Northland Security that we have to pay for financial reports that have to be provided when you have bonds. So there's some expense in there. The next page has on the fees that we paid, there was $2,250 in fees. Those were paid to Northland Securities through the year. And then the principal on the bond payments remaining is the $4,215,000, and interest is $344,000. If it goes through that 20-year plan, the interest would change, it'd be less interest. The next page is that actually the same information, just shows it a little different. The next page is a kind of a summary of everything that shows the areas again. How much TIF revenue we received on this was $879,980 in fiscal year 23. And out of the St. Charles School District, the bottom half of that is the Rockford Township, which there was no TIF revenue received again because of that project. That was 2012. That's it. Report.
Thank you for the thorough review of that. That help?
Yeah.
Good. There's a lot to it.
There is.
Got a question.
Yes, sir.
On the chip project in Rockford Township, there was an attempt to resurrect that by a different company. Would they be entitled to this? And
That we'd have to talk to bond counsel because I'm not sure. This is unlike Southwest Bypass or like City of South Grand. It's not a perpetual TIF. It's 20 years. And so the wind turbine projects, if they potentially could revive it, but I think it would be limited to the 20 years for any kind of incentive. But the clock's ticking on that. Because that went into play in something like that, sounds about right. So we're putting in on that there'd be much incentive to do. As it is, not that.
another urban, I don't know how that works. I'll love to see if we could do another urban renewal area for this one. And
All right, any further questions? Comments? We're at item 9, review action regarding the fiscal year 23 annual urban renewal report. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the fiscal year annual urban report.
A second.
All right, we have a motion by Supervisor Jorgensen and seconded by Kiefer to approve fiscal year 23 annual urban renewal report. Any comment from anyone listening on the phone line? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion to approve the fiscal year 23 annual urban renewal report, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. All right. Item 10, review action regarding resolution 47-23. And that starts on page 16 in your packet, which is debt and TIF certification. Whereas the Board of Supervisors is required to certify debt each year by December 1st. And whereas the board has entered into loan agreements for $6,010,000 and $7,490,000 in general obligation law enforcement center and courthouse improvement bonds. We have encumbered the following debt for said bonds through fiscal year 23. In the amount of the bonds for the $6,010,000 project, the amount due on those is $250,000. The principal on the bonds for the courthouse renovation and law enforcement center is $280,000. The interest on the bonds, the bond for the is interest $186,000, and the interest on the bonds for the courthouse project is $330,000. UMB bank fees $1,200. So that brings us to a total of $1,047,625. Whereas the board created an urban renewal area that we just discussed. On October 27, 2009, utilizing tax and financing and costs associated with implementation of the plan. The principal on those bonds is $565,000. The interest due is $84,300. Fees, the Magnus Trust and the Heartland Securities is $2,250. Total of $651,550 total, of which $86,550 is new TIF debt. And that's the total of the interest and the fees. So we, the board, is certifying as required our debt by December 1st. Further discussion, is there anything you'd like to add to this, Auditor Carr?
just those subsequent pages are the TIF papers that support that $86,550. This lets us collect that much more in TIF revenue in the St. Charles district area for the interest. And you originally certify the entire bond debt, but then every year you certify your interest and your those recurring bills from the banks processing the payments. So that, those next two pages then have, the one is just the summary page with the 86,550, and then the next page shows that part of it is interest and part of it is, although I do see I need to change, correct the dates on that. Interest, or so the fees, that needs to be 22 and 23.
Okay,
Is the interest rate on? Is that in here?
On the bonds, I can look them up for you, they sold them in, I think, $5,000 increments, so there's different bonds at different rates, but I can look those up. We originally had Build America bonds on those. And usually they were taxable bonds, where we would typically not do a taxable bond because we're not subject to the taxes. But the federal government was trying to rebuild America, and so they were offering these bonds that they would do a reimbursement of your interest. About 60% of the interest, I believe, is what they would kick back to you. And then, so that made them more attractive than tax exempt bonds. However, the federal government ended up through sequestration processes not reimbursing the amount that they originally said they would reimburse. So then the supervisors went through and did refinancing and did tax exempt bonds to replace the Build America bonds. And that just wrapped up. The last bonds were paid up a year or two ago, 2 years ago now, probably. The refinance bonds are all of the certificates are 2% interest.
sounds good right now, doesn't it?
Sure does. Yeah.
It's also good that we're not anywhere close to our $77 million bond capacity,
Right.
debt capacity limit. Any further consideration regarding this item, which is resolution 47-23?
No. Make a motion to approve resolution 47-23 debt certification and TIF certification.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Supervisor Jorgensen and seconded by Supervisor Kiefer to approve resolution 47-23. Any comment from anyone listening on the phone line? Hearing none. Auditor Carr, would you call the roll, please?
Jorgensen,
Aye.
Kiefer,
Aye.
Kuhn.
Aye. By unanimous vote, resolution 47-23 has been approved. Good questions on all of them. A lot to understand there.
Mhm.
Understand that. So it's good questions. All right, we'll move to item 14. In your packet, there's a discussion about appointments to various boards and commissions, of which there always are at the end of the calendar year. And I'll pull that up and we'll discuss some of those things that are appointments we need to make. Keep the boards and commissions working at the start of the new year, which isn't that far away. On page 28 of the packet, we have a list of the county boards and appointments. You'll appointments need to be made because of the expiration of terms in the Area Development Corporation Board, the Assessors Examining Board, the Board of Review, the Central Iowa Tourism Council Board, the Compensation Board, Civil Service Commission. Nothing needed, no change there. We have people appointed to that board. Conservation Board, none of the 5-year terms are up at this time. Emergency Management Commission. Nothing there. The Health Board. Have 2 members of the Health Board whose terms are up. Dr. Lisa Kapler, who chairs the board, and Rosemary Tobin, who term is expired. Those are for 3-year terms. The one thing we need to keep in mind, Dr. Kapler, the code requires that 1 member of the health board is either a physician's assistant, or there's 2 qualifications where a current nurse could be fill that role as the representative from the medical field.
An active nurse.
Yes, those are, we can look those up in the code section, but you can, there are 4 different qualifications that we need to make sure that one of those is met, because currently Dr. Kapler is a physician, acting physician, and her term is up. We were at the meeting last 2 weeks ago. I believe she stated she was interested in seeking another term on the board, as did Rosemary Tobin. So if you have anyone else you'd like to consider in those roles, you need to get a application in at least in the case of Dr. Kapler, needs to meet those qualifications in Iowa Code 137.105. Are you looking at
I
perhaps?
did, and
Okay.
that references then other codes, it references for the physician, it references chapter 148, for the physician's assistant, it references 148C, and for an advanced registered nurse practitioner, it references 152. And for a advanced practice registered nurse it references code 152E. Hold up. I mean, one of those 4 that you're asking.
Are those roles hard to fill? I mean, hard to find candidates if Lisa Kapler or Rosemary Tobin are reappointed? It's difficult to find replacements for them. What's the process for that?
I think that Dr. Kapler's been in there since 2006, so that physician's one hasn't been hard to fill because she has always been willing to continue serving.
Okay.
I don't think we had any issues with getting Dave Tice on there after he.
Does Gail do this? I mean, does Gail look for somebody if say Rosemary or Dr. Lisa Kapler didn't want to continue, either one of them, and is it up to Gail to find somebody, or is it up to us, or?
It's up to us. We appoint the people.
Okay.
I think consult with her.
Sure.
She probably knows who the field of applicants would be to meet that qualification. That's the role of the board.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah. Don't need anything on magistrate appointing commission. We have an appointment currently in place for the North Cedar Aviation Authority.
Chair.
Yes,
Jet System is no longer on the board.
yes. He was replaced by Doug Cannon.
Yeah, okay.
And that's appointed by the city. We have one appointee on that, and that's for a while, it's been Kathy McGregor. Doug is now the chair of that.
Yes, he is.
Any of those other boards on that first page there, I don't always know if those people are, those are just last I know who were appointed.
I think Jeffrey's retired this summer sometime. Doug's been to 3 or 4 meetings now, I think, so.
I'll do that.
Veterans Affairs Commission. Let's see, I didn't mean to skip over. North Iowa Regional Housing Commission, board appoints, no term limits, as of 9/21/2011. The official can serve on this board, and Supervisor Jorgensen, you are the appointed to that board.
That's correct.
No term limits, you good there?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
It's probably something you should be considering as well as your January 1 appointments, if you want to swap any of those around sometime, you probably should start.
Not too early to think about those. Veterans Affairs Commission, no commissioners are up for, their terms are not up at this time. Zoning Commission, we discussed and we're told last meeting that Allison Stout has submitted or will not be seeking a reappointment to the board. And so there's one position we need to fill, a rather important position, but given all the tasks that they are taking on, so.
Forgot to put in your packet that Candy Brando is interested in that, and we have her application on hand. So I don't know if you all got that? Or an email?
I saw a copy of
You all
her
got it?
application.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who makes that decision, the board? Yeah.
Did Allison submit her official resignation?
Jen, I believe Jen might have emailed it to me. I think Jen got it from her.
It looks like Candy's online behind you on the screen.
Oh, she just sent an email that said Allison Stout will not be on the board next year. So I don't know if Allison sent anything to her yet, but I just got an email.
I went through the office anyway.
One thing we need to keep in mind there is gender balance. Boards and commissions are required to consider gender balance when appointing positions. Currently, we have one female on board, Pam or Rewind, so member 5, we need to consider another one for this position.
I think when the time comes to appoint, we have an application that fits that criteria.
Board of Adjustment has one person who has completed their 5-year term, and well, he replaced Dave Beamer. That was Rick Cordes, who replaced an existing member of the Board of Adjustment, and so that term expires on December 31st, 2023. So we need to look at replacing or reappointing Rick Cordes to the Board of Adjustment. So that's another person.
Jen did tell me that he is interested in
He is.
continuing.
I see. All right. NIACOG boards are our annual appointments. Sharon and Abnett, Mayor Pro Tem Rockford represents as well. She attends all the meetings that I've been at. and as does J.R. Ackley. And we need to make those appointments again. And also if you like, and Patrick Gable, who's on the revolving loan fund committee. I haven't contacted him about if he wants to serve in that capacity, but I can do that.
These were some appointments that we made after we were took office. Right? Or had
Yes, some of these are.
after the first of the year. But we can reappoint them before the end of the year if we want to. Now,
We can as well. They're effective starting December 31st or earlier if the person has officially resigned from that. And then we come to this next one, which is the Floyd County Compensation Condemnation Board. And I'm going to spin that one around here. Doesn't meet very often. And it's made up of different groups of people with knowledge of different interests in the county. One is ag property. And I'm looking at it sideways, but it looks like we have 7 people on this compensation board who are owners and operators of ag property. We have
There's 7 of each category.
seven in each category. And the next one is a city property owner, a real estate person with real estate knowledge, background, maybe a license, and property value knowledge or occupation. And so these are the 4 categories. 7 persons each, 28-person board. I don't know when the last time we met. But
A year ago.
a year ago.
Or
The
maybe,
condemnation.
well, it was before the Avenue, 2 years ago probably now. With the Avenue of Saints, with the property just this side of
Loves.
the cemetery.
Yeah.
So,
So it's rare, but they do meet and it's a live round.
but
Who
no,
knows?
it's not all 28 that meet. So it's 1 representative from the real estate category, 1 representative from the excuse me, 2 representatives from 1 or 2. A representative from the real estate category, a representative from the property value knowledge category. And then if the property is in the city limits, it's 1 person from the city limits side. 2 people, I think it's 2 of each category. I think it's 6 people when they're all done. If it's in the rural area, it's 1 person from the owner operator of ag property. So it's a 6 people, so it's like a draw. The deputy draws a name out, but I know I know when he did Travis Bartz is the one who worked on this 2 years ago or whenever it was with the Avenue project. And 1 person might have said, I'm not available, I'm gonna be out of town or whatever, do you want to do this? And so then he'll draw for the next person in that category. But it's a 6-panel board that meets. And I held their meetings this last time at the Floyd Community Center. Yeah.
So do the ones listed in real estate, are they must have a real estate license, I see it says.
Those have to have that real estate license.
Are
The
they-
hardest one to fill is that next category. Well, what we find, the next category, we usually find the realtors, but it's that property value knowledge category that's the hard one to get filled. And you see there's 2 highlighted areas. I don't know if they're showing up on the scan document, but there's 2. One was Julie Offerman, and her employer, she was a great candidate because of the work that she did with federal land.
FSA.
Yeah, is that FSA or federal land?
I think it was FSA. She worked in the New Hampton office.
Those are typically like lending companies.
Yeah, she did. They do that.
Okay, farm service agency.
Yeah.
Anyway, her employer told her that they thought it was a conflict for her to be doing that, but that's just the category that you need. So it's unfortunate. And then, oftentimes it's bankers who do real estate loans that end up in that category, or maybe auctioneers that have, that have that knowledge of property value. It's not a real, it's a different category than.
Going back to the real estate category, there might be one or two that aren't practicing real estate anymore.
Yeah, so are you thinking like maybe Kendall and Abbott? Yeah, I know the last time I talked with him, he said he still did, but this is one we never did appoint this year. So,
Both good qualified candidates. I just don't know if they need to be practicing or not. They might have their license maintained.
he did, at that time he did.
Okay.
But it's been 2 years now since these people have been contacted.
Right.
This got dropped in January.
It's probably got it.
Yeah, he did, I don't know. That's what that call is, that's what I'll ask, is do you still meet this category? And I've got just a little, I know it's small print, but down there, like, kind of the type of position you might have. You know, and that property value knowledge, when Travis used Sharon, or contacted Sharon Vickerman, she just felt like she would be a good candidate for that particular case. And I wouldn't be surprised if maybe she wants to be dropped off of the list. And what I find with the banks, we often might get maybe a couple of people from the bank, but now the banks have been only wanting to appoint one person rather than two. So that property knowledge, value knowledge one is the hardest one to.
So we need to confirm this list, because we haven't, like you said, we didn't appoint one group last year. So we need to confirm all 7 in all 4 categories and fill in those spots where we don't have 7. The reason is this: we don't know what the Iowa utility is going to do with Summit's permit application. And not knowing that, understand their request to the utilities board is to condemn property. And so if and when that happens. So, do you want to call up all these? You want to split us up so we can make some of these calls?
I would love it.
You want to call? How would you like to do that?
I've always been the one calling them. I
You
would
have.
love it if you guys would.
Like to take a category and kind of, I think it's only fair that you kind of let people know we don't. Could happen. I mean,
Sure. Just know some of these people. It doesn't matter if they go or not, it's still calling. There's a handful on there that I know.
Do you want to split it up that way? And I'll mark here who's calling you and then follow up with you with the code section and the,
Yeah.
you want to do that now?
sounds good. Yeah, let's split this up a little bit and get involved in this process a little more. How about, I'll take city property owner.
I know some in each group, so it really don't matter. And so you pick next.
I'll take a couple of neighbors of mine, the owner operators of ag property. That'd be all right, Jim?
Yeah.
You want that?
Nope, that's fine.
You're saying you'll do all of them, or you'll do?
No, I'll do all of them under owner operator bag, yeah.
Which leaves,
There's the rest.
Dennis is doing owner operator. Which ones did you say, Mark?
I was gonna take the city property.
Yeah, okay.
And on that one, Holly Connor was on there, but I don't know, that was because she
She
owned
doesn't live in the
property.
city, but if
Well, but she owns property, but I don't think she owns the property anymore.
it's either a property owner or it's property owner in the city,
I can
any
do,
city,
Anything.
of course.
I can do the real estate.
We don't have our tabs.
So you're leaving me with the tough one?
Yeah, I guess we.
You said you spoke last.
So, you're telling me?
And we're supposed to ask them if they want to remain on this,
On the list,
on the list.
yeah.
Okay.
And for the real estate, I should probably, do we have to request that they have a copy of their certificate?
We never have requested it, it's
Just a
they
verbal?
tell us that they have it, yeah.
Okay,
You know, I might add, Jim Frisbee's name is on the ag property. And I've tried to call Jim 3 or 4 times cordially, and I don't get an answer. Him and his wife are having some serious health issues, both of them.
They may not want to be on
They
it.
may not, if I keep.
Jim, when he was a realtor, or an auctioneer, he used to be on the bottom part.
Yeah, well, I just thought I'd mention that. I don't think their health is real good, either one of them, so.
Don Cunningham still live in North Springs?
Yeah, Dawn, she's, Grant's wife, right? Grant Cunningham's wife, or is she one of the daughters? Do you know, Jim?
what's that?
Dawn Cunningham, is that Grant's wife?
Yeah, live north of them.
Yeah,
North
North
Springs.
Bill Marshall's farm.
Most of the time when you make the calls, it's a fairly quick call. Most will say it's the best board I've ever been on because we get picked, but, Mark, were you a supervisor when Avenue of the Saints went through and they?
Yes, I was.
This group was hit hard when that went through.
Okay.
Because a lot of properties went through the condemnation process along the Avenue of the Saints.
All right, after we thoroughly discussed this various boards, commissions, appointments, we have our work to do. Ready? Okay, all right. Let's move to item 16, no wage increase for emergency management safety coordinator. On completion of Homeland Security required baseline courses. In your packet, you've got a couple of notifications. One that Jason Webster has, effective November 1st, EMA, Jason Webster has completed his required certification that the EMA Commission approved. Jason's offer for the position of EMA coordinator was to have an additional $1,000 added to his salary upon completion of that certification. That's a letter from Sheriff Crook. Another item in your packet was statement from the Iowa Department of Homeland Security Emergency Management, saying that he had his complete his baseline courses as of November 2023, and beginning October 1st, 2024, you'll be collecting your 24 hours continuing education hours. So he has met his all the requirements to get his wage increase, and so his wage is what we're noting. I didn't see it listed here.
Oh, okay.
$1,000 increase, is that what I saw?
Yeah.
Yes.
They don't see the wage.
Yes, I can. So, okay, when Jason was hired, he was hired at $52,000 a year. And in his offer letter, he was to get a 5% increase upon a successful 6-month performance review, which that occurred in 6 months. And then in addition, when he got certified, he would get $1,000 on his annual salary added to it. So he currently, he started in October a year ago, I believe it was. And his current salary is $56,238. And so he would go to $57,238.
He's just asking for $1,000. He's got
He's
his,
not asking for it, that was in his offer.
yeah, but he's got the other raises that he was entitled to already.
Yes, he got his 5% increase.
Okay.
All right, we are noting the increase to Jason Webster for certification following his baseline course. Further comments, questions?
No.
All right, let's see. All right, we've got a couple of items here where we deferred on item 12, which is the treasurer's part-time motor vehicle tax clerk. And until we consider more, item 15, the action regarding wage increase for auditor clerks following 6 months for auditor card. We discussed this at the last meeting. You've got us some new information, so I will give you the floor to further discussion.
So I pulled these numbers together for you. Few counties that responded last week, so what you have in your packet is you have Floyd County employees as well as other county staff in the auditor's office. So, which would you like to look at? I mean, whatever you want to look at there. Like you can see wages are all over. I have, Blackhawk County has done a wage study, and so the numbers that you see for Blackhawk County are based on a classification study based on the duties that the staff do, not just checking what other counties are paying for positions, but an actual study with physical work that the employees do. Franklin County is also going through that process. They don't have it completed yet, but when they get theirs completed, they'll be providing that as well. If you look at, let's say Worth County, the very bottom one on the list there, for their counties, their 1-year people are at 2301. That's what I've asked for my staff to go to. Their 6-month increase at $23 an hour will get them through June 30th. So they'll be here a little over a year by June 30th of 2024. When they, if you're looking at like a 1-year time period, they'd be at that in their 6 months with my request to put them at $23 an hour. But as you can see, their elections person is paid higher than that, but does have 4 more years of experience as well, 24 to 32. You can see Story County, they're all higher than what I'm offering. Some of them provide years of service, some of them didn't. So we're under what Story County pays. Ringgold County, only provided one, and that was a real estate deputy, $25 an hour for someone who's been there 5 years. Franklin County, they have a part-time person that's at $18.95 an hour. Otherwise, they're ranging from $20.07 to $36 for a deputy, over $36 an hour. Emmett County has ranges from $18.85 to $23.85. Looking at an additional person in their office. Boone County is higher than our wages. One person that's been there a year and a half on the election side is making $24.34 an hour. Blackhawk County, the list he provided me, they have a bargaining unit, and so you're seeing fiscal year 24 and fiscal year 23, but the fiscal year 23 got a 3% increase. So the wages that are listed there, you would technically need to add 3%, but they would have gotten July 1st onto that. Again, if you just look at elections, their person that's in charge of elections, this is their range that they pay, $31.76 an hour to $44.32 an hour. You know, they're bigger as far as elections go. All this person does elections.
Yeah, will you continue with the, I'd like to hear a little more about how the county departments, reflect.
Yep.
In Floyd County.
Yep. So, Caitlin in the assessor's office is at 21. I'll just point out a few of them on here. Chris, of course, is a deputy assessor, and so he had gone from that position originally what Caitlin has to the $71,400. Aaron in the county attorney's office, $26.35 as a paralegal for the county. Elizabeth is at $21.60 per hour. Jen Solomon is one of the lower paid at $19.64 an hour, outside of Amy at conservation that's paid $18.75 an hour. Heidi is at $26.06, not really a comparable position as a naturalist in her category. Very different roles there. Tracy in the engineer's office is at $29.42. She's kind of comparable to Amanda in my office with a little bit higher pay, with the higher pay increase. Katie, I had stolen from public health and ended up going back to public health, knowing that they had a retirement coming up, and knowing she'd be able to get more pay than what I could offer her, is at $23.58 an hour. Marty in public health is at $22.22. Kim in the recorder's office is at $27.75. She is new in her position, considered new in her position yet, and her pay is equivalent to like a I believe Amy has her like a 75% deputy. If she had a deputy, the wage is comparable to a 75% deputy. Of course, Jen just got her $2 an hour increase. Amy started her at 19, and I believe you guys gave her $1 an hour and then another $1 an hour a couple of months ago. Recorder's position. That, of course, was a part-time position that you allowed the office to have a full-time. Treasurer's office, Jolene, of course, is a deputy.
So has that higher, more like the wage would be equivalent to more like what Amanda and Tracy are making in that category. And then the two leases are at 2701. Ashley is up here for her 60-cent increase. And I see I missed Sherry.
Right.
Yeah, her part-time person. Sherry Sprung is at 2259. I guess I still believe that for the type of position that I have in the office, that $23 an hour is a justified pay into other auditors' offices in the state. I really wouldn't like the company, I really would hope you wouldn't do anything less than that. I know I understand where you're saying, Mark, that it causes animosity. I think the position warrants.
For both Lexi and Jennifer.
Yes, yeah. Some of the questions that you asked here, does it fit in your budget? So you had asked of Jessie, it's in her budget. When Todd Pritchard asked for his staff to add on a part-time attorney and office staff, the question was asked, does it fit in your budget? You didn't seem to have any issues with, because it fits in his budget to give their, well, she's not an attorney, she hasn't passed her bars, but to give her the salary that she receives and to give Elizabeth the pay that she's at. So if that's a question you would ask, that's the reason I put that in there, because that's a question that you've asked of other people in the last 11 months that have come in here. Does it fit in your budget? If it's in my budget for wages, that's why that's in the letter. That in itself isn't an issue. I didn't mean that to be any issue. They had for years, a 6-month pay increase has been normal. And typically it's been around that 3%. But pending 3 to 5 year plan to get the employees to the clerks in the other offices has been the tool. I can't say that I like that practice either, because I still like the idea of what a job is worth in pay based on duties that you do. My staff doesn't do anything like the staff in the treasurer's office. The position that Jen has was the closest position that we have with the recorder's office, because of the real estate process that has some similar knowledge that you have to have on the real estate side. Our office does a lot of work. We produce a lot of work. We have a lot of jobs to do, and it has increased significantly over the years what gets put on the auditor's office. So I guess I just think And so the 3 to 5 years has been a normal process to get those wages up. I won't be here after December next year, so no way did I mean that this is a schedule that I wanted you to obligate yourself to, like you did with the engineer's office, where you allowed Jacob to put his two assistants at a schedule to get them up in wages. That wasn't the intent to lock in anything like you did with the engineer's office. Or the intent of that was to lock that in. This is just a visual of what it looks like to get them to the 3 to 5 years. 3 years is more, obviously more aggressive. 5 years is more realistic. But I think for staff has other offices, I don't think you should short them on anything less than 20.
Presented.
Yeah,
questions?
any questions you have?
Okay.
No.
I just like to start with that this is based on is understanding that any performance review goal was to bring the. I remember during our budget discussions, I remember when Jen and Lexi were hired, I looked up the minutes of that time. There's no mention of a plan to raise the clerks in your office to the treasurer's office clerk. So first point I have is this understanding that you may have had, but I don't think the board had that understanding. We can't account for it in any written thing or any board minutes that I can find. So that's my first problem with this, because what you're asking for is essentially an 8.9% increase, which is a $23.01, $23 an hour. That amounts to actually 8.9% for Jennifer and a little more than that for Lexi, because when you hired them, you hired Lexi at $20.50 an hour and Jen at $21 an hour. So the increase to Lexi is a little higher. I didn't figure that. That's what you refer to as an adjustment. So, like you mentioned, you're not going to be here, but what this appears to me to be is a understanding that we are going to enter into a 3 or 4 or 5 year plan to raise the clerks in your office to what the highest paid clerks in the treasurer's office are. So that's my first problem with this plan, because we raise salaries at the end of 6 months by $1 an hour. I don't recall a time when we've given the clerks an increase like this to get them to another county officials' clerks' wages. The one thing that isn't in this, and is also pretty important, is you're not taking into account the longevity that not only the clerks in the treasurer's office. I asked the treasurer Holmes to tell us how long Lisa T and Lisa S have served Floyd County, and they both had more than 20 years of service to Floyd County. So I find it hard that you bring up people who are good employees, but they have 6 months of service, to people who served Floyd County for 20 years in as short as a 3-year time period. I actually have one elected official who pointed out that that's a slap in the face on the list. They reviewed the employees of the treasurer's office, but they're also employees in the sheriff's office that are making, for instance, $22.60 and $22.60 an hour. To instantly on a 6-month review of the 2 employees in your office, we're going to raise them above the sheriff's office.
Vanessa's probably been here 20 years, and she,
And if you would look at what workloads are in the offices, the auditor's office has always had staff paid higher, regardless of longevity or of the years of service.
That's fine. We'll respond to my comments in just a moment. But it's more than just this dollar amount in the treasurer's office that seems to be the determining factor. Balancing out salaries, and there's going to be an effect of that. Because other offices will look at this and say, certainly they'd like to be on that step. They'd like to be on that practice. In fact, at our last meeting, twice during the call-in period, Jennifer Sullivan did call and request that she get on that step increase. In fact, the Board of Supervisors received an email from Jennifer since last week's meeting. And the email stated this situation that we have, that Jennifer wants to get put on that step increase to the treasurer's office because she feels that she does as much work people in your office. She wants them on that step. So it presents a problem to the Board of Equity. And it doesn't take into account the years of service that these clerks and officials in our counties have given us. So it's not as easy as it may sound. The thing that troubles me a bit is your request. What it amounts to is 3% now plus 5.9% for Jennifer and a little more for Alexi. Are you requesting that is a benchmark that we're to keep up with that for 3 or 4 years? Because I've never heard of a step increase to match another official salaries clerk that would commit the board to a multi-year wage increase. That is quite a request. I mean, is that what you're asking for? Is to step it up for multi-years?
I am only looking at getting through July 1st, 2024. Then through the budget process, we'll talk about July 1st, 2024 and the future. Your steps are not uncommon. For example, I just pulled up secondary roads. Secondary roads employees get a 6%, their schedule in 6 months, those guys get a 6% pay increase in 6 months. In 1 year, their pay goes from their start date to a 12.5% increase. Sheriff's deputies have a step schedule as well, that they increase. Those guys then get a significant increase at 6 months and at a year. for their performance. The sheriff's deputies receive longevity. That's, you bargained for that in their contract. So in addition to their pay, they get a longevity bump up. Secondary roads, when that contract was renegotiated, they did away with longevity. Just looked at the position and they factored in longevity into their hourly. So they got a bump in pay based on that longevity rate was at the time in there. You just looked at Jason Webster, who got a 5% increase in 6 months and $1,000 increase at 1 year. The I'm surprised to hear you say this because this has been talked about when you were a supervisor here before, Mark, of getting the clerks to the same wage. That's nothing new. So I'm very surprised that this doesn't sound familiar to you. And it was talked about when they were hired, when Lexi and that 3 to 5 years is nothing new. I think that the women in my office should be treated fairly. I think you have a history of what you've done for other departments, other types of employees. I think that, again, if you were to do a wage study, you would see that there's studies that are out there that show the workloads of positions. The auditor's office workload is, we're often here, not just me, my staff are often here working extra hours because of the workload in the office. Otherwise, most offices, lights are dark. My staff works very hard. We have demanding workloads. And I would say probably stressful than other offices, not all the offices in this courthouse, but some of the offices in this courthouse. The workload is much heavier. Again, I don't know what to say. You could talk to other supervisors from the past 3 to 5 years when you were a supervisor before. That was always a goal when that is nothing new. I have not created something new. It's been the practice. I guess at this point, I don't have to fight for their wages. It seems like maybe that's where you're more generous at, with bargaining units. And maybe that's what some of the people need to do, is start a bargaining unit to get wages that are fair. I've provided you with other counties and information. I don't think I'm out of line with providing what staff in other offices, other auditors' offices, true comparison. At your mercy. Tell me what you want me to pay them. If you don't think that I am making a good judgment on what is a fair wage for right now, I have no control. This was never intended to say, let's do this like you approved with secondary roads. It's nothing to do, or not secondary roads. And then, gee, this is not the intent. This is was purely just a picture to say, to do this in 3 to 5 years, here's a range for you. I think that the $23 an hour is a very fair wage. Elected officials are at the mercy of whatever the Board of Supervisors will approve. So you tell me what you want, what you think is fair for my employees to be paid.
Thank you for your response. You raised a couple of additional issues. One, you compared a 6-month employee to a union contract that the deputy sheriff said. You're right, you're not a collective bargaining unit. So that's not a fair comparison. It really isn't, because you're not a collective bargaining unit.
No, I'm just, that
I'm
was
just
just to
saying
show
that-
6 months.
You've cited several examples where other things have been taken into consideration, but we're here to look at a 6-month increase. That's what's on our agenda. Although you say this isn't intended to be a multi-year proposal to get us to $27.01, that's indeed what the recommendation and the examples are. So I don't know how you would expect us to look at it in any other way. The third thing you mentioned is the possibility of a wage study. Maybe that's something we need to do at an appropriate time. We're near the middle of this fiscal year, getting close to it, and we're asked to increase salaries based on job performance in review, but in lieu of this misunderstanding, I'll call it, because there was no understanding that we were going to bring Lexi and Jennifer's salaries up within 3 or 5 years to the treasurer's office during any of those discussions. And if you believe there was, correct me, but I don't recall that. It doesn't state any fact in our board meetings that that was going to happen. So to me, that's a misunderstanding on your part. Maybe we should look at a wage study review, but the last thing I'll say on this is, you know, it's based on 3% increases, future increases in the Treasurer's Department for multiple years. We're kind of 1 year budgeting at a time. There's lots of discussions. In fact, you yourself have spoken many times about property tax reform that's coming up. And we don't know the effect, how that'll be on this next year's budget. I think it would be fiscally irresponsible of this board to raise the salaries of the clerks in your office by 8.9%. With the idea that we're going to get them somehow to the treasurer's salary within 3 or 5 years. We don't know the effects of property tax reform we're going to face. The recommendation that we all went to, or the beginning meeting we had of the compensation board, we don't know the effects that this is going to be on our total budget ourselves. So I'm very uncomfortable with committing to a larger than increase in salary based on step increase. You really need to take into account that these are 20-year employees that you're saying we're going to catch up with you in a matter of time. And I just don't think that this plan does that. And I think there's some agreement around the table with some of what I'm saying. So I'm going to make a motion to increase the salaries of both Jennifer and Lexi by $1 an hour at this time, and decide during the budget process for next year where we might have a wage study, we might have some further things to look at, but I'm just really uncomfortable with increasing it 8.9% for all the reasons we talked. That $1 an hour increase would be in line with what the recorder's office did. In that case, it is in line with the next item we're going to talk about here, which is a 3% increase in the treasurer's department. So my motion is to increase the salaries of Jennifer and Lexi by $1 an hour for their 6-month review, and we review it again during the process of the budget process for the next year.
I find the request Wasn't it a percent you were requesting?
$23 an hour
Request
is what I would
the
do.
20, at the bottom of all that stuff up above with the year recommendations and everything, it gets down to the $23 request for Jen and Lexi, which means in Lexi's case, a $2.50 an hour increase, and in Jen's per hour, and in Jen's situation, a $2 per hour increase, which matches anything or exceeds anything that we've considered recently. That's the motion that's on the table. It is, I guess we,
Can I ask something? I don't know that you've got a
I'd
second
like
yet.
to see if there's a second, to see if we have a discussion. Is there a second? We'll discuss it. If not, we'll go on to something else.
I'll second that motion.
All right, it's been seconded by Supervisor Kiefer. Discussion. Other card.
I would like to see it more than that, of course, but I would, at minimum, like to see Lexi and Jen be at the same rate of pay.
So what would your difference be? 50 cents difference?
But I would rather, I do not think. that's
Did
fair,
you
But if you would, if-
determine that when you hired them? You offered them different wages for some reason. You did that.
I did that because of, Lexi not having experience in that field, selling in it since she's been here. She has caught on to so many aspects of the office. And the only reason I did the 50 cents an hour less was purely because of not having experience and not knowing if she'd be able to handle the position. She has proven herself immensely in the office to be an asset.
So we didn't, let's see if we can please to match Jen's salary.
If, I would like them to be at the same wage. I would like to them to be at more than 50 an hour at this point. But again, I'm at your mercy, but at minimum, I want them to be the same. I do wish you would consider things of workloads, of job classifications, of what you've done with other offices. Again, you, in secondary roads, 2 years, they're up to, they don't have to wait 3 to 5 years. In 2 years, secondary roads gets what their job is worth. Sheriff's Department has 7 years to get what their job is worth. You know, like some of these counties have, I think if you treat employees fairly, the bargaining unit isn't a necessary tool. But I think I wish you had more value in judgment on what my staff is worth. And you do talk about property tax reform. You all made a decision about property tax reform in another office that I gave financial dollars to that. And Jim had a plan, and that plan didn't go through because of your agenda.
Well, we're considering your request. People to pay, see it then. So, do you have any suggestions? Jennifer's taking colors and $1 increase. Lexi's $1.50 to match it at $22 an hour. Is that a amendment, a sense amendment for me to consider.
The ladies didn't feel bad because one got more of a raise than the other.
All right, I'll make a motion, a sense amendment to my previous motion, changing it to an increase in Jennifer's pay to $22 an hour, and an increase in Lexi of $1.50 to equal it out at $22 an hour.
That's a revised motion.
Yeah, I'm amending the previous motion. Yes.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have the motion amended to approve Jennifer a pay increase to $22 and Lexi a pay increase to $22, which amounts to $1.50 for Lexi and $1 an hour for Jen. Is there further discussion?
I just want to add, I agree. I think it would be better to enter into these conversations at budget time, especially about step and that kind of thing. Getting a wage study done, I think it would be really interesting. Informative. Surprises, might not. Then what do we do with it afterwards if we see it there? I don't have anything else to add.
Is there further discussion? Discussion, any comments from anyone listening on the phone? Those in favor of the motion as amended. Jen's salary, $1.50 an hour, $1 an hour to $22 an hour, and Lexi $1.50 an hour to $22. Say aye. Aye. Motion is carried.
I missed which one of you seconded his amended motion.
I did not second it, Dennis did.
You amended one, okay, I didn't catch that.
Next item, back to item 12, review and action regarding wage increase for treasurer's part-time motor vehicle clerk following a 6-month performance review. It's to 60 cents an hour, setting the wage of that employee at 20.
That's a part-time position, correct?
Yes,
Am I right?
yes, it is.
How many hours that is in part-time?
29 is the most they can get. Part-time employees.
Just probably hitting that most of the time.
I can check if you want me to.
That's fine. I'll make a motion to increase Ashley Adam Ganson's percent in her hourly wage.
Second.
Supervisor Jordan, seconded by Kiefer. 3% increase in the 6-month performance review for the part-time motor vehicle clerk. Further discussion? Comments from anyone listening on the phone? Those in favor? Aye. Motion is carried. Item 17, future agenda items.
I can't either, except the ongoing issue of finishing the courthouse. I don't know what more we could do except be patient for everybody.
I just make a decision about the county inspector dioxide pipelines. We've had presentations from 3 companies that sat here for a lengthy period of time. We've gone through the IUB process. We know it's going to be off in a future date at some time, but yet don't want that to just be put aside and not dealt with again. I'm thinking about putting that on the agenda for, get out the files and look at them if the board.
Commission inspectors, Mark.
Yes, you know, we interviewed 3 and we haven't done anything with that for some time and just.
Probably need to follow up on that.
So that could be a agenda item for next week. Is there anything else coming before the board regarding the future agenda item?
If we come up with something, we can contact you later, right?
Sometimes the agenda gets edited at the last second because, for instance, in the case of Jason Webster, we did that. Yep. Very late, and so do our best to meet all those, we'll meet all those open meetings requests and requirements. Nothing else? Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, then move to second adjourn. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Adjourn. And we'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Be up to the,
EOC.